So this ORM tool, it have many features for making database operations. Not only database CRUD operations, more than that. And the normal general term of general meaning of Hibernate is, you know, right? Hibernate means, okay, rather than Java, Hibernate simple definition, simple meaning. If you see Windows 7 operating system, there they used to provide us one Hibernate option, log off, Hibernate, switch off, log off, shut down. So whenever we try to go to Hibernate mode, it used to log off, and whenever we start again, the same Windows environment, I mean the previous session completed data, again it will populate, right? That is what Hibernate. Hibernate simple meaning is it's a sleep mode. Simple meaning of Hibernate is sleep mode. Why sleep mode name he named it to framework? The meaning of Hibernate is sleep mode. Winter deers will go to up to 6 months into Hibernate mode. After then they will wake up. In winter deers will go to, like they used to go to sleep mode. That is what actually Hibernate meaning. Why he named Hibernate to his tool, and what actually it will do? We can say it's a simple ORM tool. Then this ORM, what actually it will do? And where actually we have to use this ORM? And what it will provide to us? Why we should go through ORMs? Actually this ORM is useful for, if you see complete MVC based applications, MVC will divide into presentation and one controller, one model, in this complete MVC, where actually Hibernate will contribute, where actually it will help us. Hibernate will help us under model part. Especially Hibernate will help us under model part to make what actually they given it. Model part, again it will divide into 3 sub-layers: service, business and data access part, DAOs. We can divide model into 3 parts: business part for business code and the DAO part for database, and services, extra services for our actual business, security, transactions, logging, mailing services, JMS, okay, and J&DI services, logger services. All these type of services may required for business. And actually where Hibernate will help us, under DAO part it will help us. Why we should go through Hibernate in this DAO part? DAO classes, what actually they will do? DAO means data access objects. These data access objects, they need to have capabilities to interact with databases. So to interact with database, we have JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. By using that Java Database Connectivity, DAO classes can talk with databases. Then why we should go through ORMs? What are the features we don't have in JDBC, and which features we are providing through ORM tools? In case if you go through JDBC, what happens here? Actually Hibernate designed for specially enterprise applications. It will help us for standalone applications also. Enterprise in the sense? Enterprise, not only web, enterprise means it's a business application. So for making such type of business applications, this Hibernate tool he designed. And not only the reason, actually Sun given 2 components, Sun EJB session beans and EJB entity beans. EJB entity beans are not actually recommended components for making DAO part. So EJB team developer, he is from Sun Microsystems itself. EJB team developer, his name Gavin King. He found many problems in EJB, then he invented Hibernate. So which problems he find? Why actually EJBs they design? Without EJB, can't we able to write business and DAOs? Now we can write, but in olden days, in the year 2000s, only EJBs we have to write business and DAOs. Without EJBs, we can't able to build model part. In case if you build, you should not call it as enterprise application. It can't able to provide support for multi-user access applications. There we may lose some data. And it can't able to provide services like security. Security problems also it may shows. In case if you go through simple Java code. As of now what we know, simple Java servlets and simple CoreJava classes, and we know JDBC to access database. If you go through that simple Java coding style, here this business may lose. Your business may lose because of security transactions. How we can lose? How we can say it will lose? Without having security, if you deploy your application, if it is a banking application, anyone can access your bank class without security. By using URL rewriting, if they access your application, by accessing your application, if they deposit in their account instead of 1 crore rupees, then our business will lose. And while doing like transferring amount from one bank account to another bank account, suddenly if any failures happens here, if your server shut down, suddenly one bank account updation success means from my account I want to transfer to some user account. 1 lakh rupees whenever I try to fund transfer, successfully if it deducts from my account, while updating into that user account, suddenly if it fails, my amount should be rolled back. But that rollback support we can provide by using transactions. Without having transactions, if you build, you will lose. So business application need to have some great capabilities. Who will provide that capabilities? Some great capabilities we require for business. EJB components are that components, they can provide business features to us, business features and services features and data access features. EJBs. EJBs undesigned, EJB enterprise Java beans, session beans, enterprise Java beans, entity beans. So by using combination of session beans and entity beans, you can make business part to data access part. And these services we can buy from third parties. We can buy car from car vendors. Like if you required like Honda car, something car image, we used to book on Honda showroom. They will give us Honda product. In case if you required any stereo system, like music system, audio system, if you required for car, you need to buy separately. And again you have to fix into your car. Right? Car vendor will not provide. Honda will not provide as audio system. Again you have to buy from something ecosystem, from sound companies, from the speaker companies. We have to buy a speaker system and we have to buy a audio machine, then we have to fix it for our car. So these services also we need to buy from application servers. Services separately we should buy from application servers. Application servers, you can call them application servers like WebLogic server, WebLogic, JBoss, Glassfish. All these are application servers. So we need to buy services from application servers, then we have to add to our EJBs. So EJBs they will allow us to add services from application servers. In case of simple Java components, we can't able to add services to our Java classes. But if it is EJB session bean class, it will allow us to add services from application servers. So here our business classes we need to write by using session beans. And coming to DAO classes, we need to go through EJB entity beans. Why EJB entity beans? Why not JDBC? If you go through JDBC, the JDBC main disadvantage here, if it is JDBC, to interact with the database, if you are going through JDBC, in your DAO class, what you should write? In your DAO class, if you are going through JDBC, in this DAO class, we have to use statement or either prepared statement or callable statements. If you go through statements or prepared statements or callable statements, which type of queries we need to write? Let's say if it is Oracle database, So we need to write some DML, DDL, DRL queries. That queries should capable to run on underlying database, right? If you are going through Oracle database, what are the queries you are going to write here? That queries must need to run under Oracle. So from here, if I try to process any SQL query, from here if I try to process any SQL query here, that SQL query must your database need to understand, right? So if I write my queries, if it is a complete enterprise application, here in this DO part, if I write database queries, those are related to Oracle. In future, instead of using Oracle, if you want to go through MySQL, if you want to contract cancel 1 year contract, after completion of 1 year contract, if you don't want this, if you don't want to use this Oracle, and if you want to shift your application to MySQL, then is this Oracle queries can you able to run on MySQL? Some data types may be different, and SQL structure also sometimes it may be different SQL structure compared with one database to another database. So database engines, SQL engine, it may not be same, right? So if you go through simple SQL queries, in future if you want to migrate your application from one database to another database, that application may not execute. Your code will become database independent or dependent. It will become a database dependent code. So through JDBC, if I write my DO classes may become database dependent. And one more thing, in case if it is a banking application, here I have one use case. Every day employee need to check in, check out. Every day employee he must need to check into office, he must need to check out. For doing check in, check outs, my business need to support. Means here if you have some swipe machine or scanning machine, and in front of this scanning machine he need to swipe his card and he need to enter bank. For this swipe machine, if you integrate with your business, means that to check that employee ID username, if you integrate this swipe machine with your bank application, your bank application business, what it need to do, it need to check whether that user ID, password are there in database or not. Let's say here, if you have 100 bank employees, like 1 lakh bank employees, if you have bank employees table, ICICI Bank it used to maintain like up to 1 lakh employees. They may have more than 1 lakh. So every day this 1 lakh employees, if they try to use some cards, swipe cards or scan cards, if the IDs, if they try to scan here, this machine need to check that employees table data, user ID, password is correct or not, it need to check here. Let's say if you have employee data here, 1, 2, 3, 1 lakh employees data if you have here. So your business, what it need to do, it need to call DAO, and DAO need to return data to the business class. Business need to check here whether that user data is there or not. If it is there, then he need to allow that employee into office, or else it need to reject, right? If you come up with any duplicate card, it need to reject. If it is an identity card, if it is fine, it need to allow that user into office. So every day this user, how many times they need to do these operations? While login, while log out. Or else if you have anything, any work on outside, again at lunchtime he can go out, again he can come in. So at least minimum 2 lakhs times they need to, 2 lakhs times must they need to log in, log out. 2 lakhs is minimum per day. Per day 2 lakhs times, this business what it need to do, ask DAO class for what? Data. So DAO what it need to do, 2 lakhs times it need to connect with database and it need to retrieve data from here. If you see bank employees table data, you can say that data is a constant data. It is not frequently changeable data. Frequently changeable data means if you have bank account table may change frequently. One day like 10 employees, 10 people, they may they may add some amount into my account. So there is a chance to update my bank account table. But if you see bank employees table, bank employees when they will update, something on weekends, or else at the month starting day they may update one new employee if they hire. right? They will generate some employee IDs and they will provide. Until that the employee data will be constant only, right? Data will be maintained here constantly. So for that constant data, JDBC what it need to do? In JDBC we don't have any support like cache. So every time for business request DAO class need to retrieve data from database table, means 2 lakhs times it need to hit your database for constant data only. So it may decrease your application performance, right? To improve your application performance, here if you have support, cache support, if you have capability to store the data into temporary caches, you can realize this cache importance from Facebook application. Log into Facebook application from Google Chrome. Login. If it is a first time login, it used to load like up to 10 minutes. It will load all the images and all the comments from server. After first time login, log out and again re-login. If you do again re-login, within seconds it used to load all the data. From where it will load? From your local machine cache it will load. It will not load it. Maximum amount of data it will load from cache. If you have any modifications, that modifications data it will load from server. Let's say if you have 50 MB data in your server on your profile. One time if you log in, 50 MB data it will get from server and it will store into your local machine. Again if you log in, 50 MB data from your local machine itself it will load. And go to browser, from browser delete your previous history and sessions and cookies and delete complete cache. Install one cache cleaner and by using that cache cleaner delete all the caches, temporary files, and then again try to log in. Again 50 MB data it will get from server. So it may put some burden on your server, right? Every time if you hit your server for that 50 MB data, every day if you try to log in 10 times it need to carry 50 MB data through network and it need to load into your machine. But if it have cache capability, one time it will load. For the remaining all the times logins from your local machine, it will load data into browser, right? So that type of support your DAO required here to serve to business class. So that cache support we don't have in JDBC. This cache support we have from ORM tools like EJB Entity Beans. If you go through EJB Entity Beans, it will provide us cache support. Not only this cache support, in case of JDBC whatever the thing we have here, database independent queries. Here we have database dependent queries, right? In case of JDBC must we need to write database understandable queries. But if you go through EJB, if you want to go through EJBs, you can process queries by using query language. There is one specially designed language, query language we have. By using that query language queries, you can write object oriented query. That query at runtime it will convert into database understandable queries. If I write one query, the same query your EJB engine will convert at runtime into your database understandable format. In case today if you are running in Oracle, tomorrow if you are going to change it to MySQL, what your code will do, EJB code, that query language queries, it will convert into MySQL understandable code, MySQL understandable queries. So that type of platform they designed under EJBs. So if you go through EJB Entity Beans, they will provide cache support as well as query language support. But if you go through JDBC, some database dependent queries we must need to write in our DAO classes, and it will not provide us any cache support. So a lot of performance issues you may get for enterprise applications. So for enterprise applications, simple JDBC is not suitable. Okay, we have to go through EJBs. But he find many problems. Who find EJB team developer? EJB team developer Gavin King, he find many problems in EJB. What are those? In case if you want to do simple CRUD operation from here, if you want to do simple registration operation, employee registration, if you want to do simple employee registration, employee table if you have, in that employee table employee name, email and his salary if you want to register. For doing registration you need to write one servlet here. Servlet need to read data, name it need to read, email it need to read and salary it need to read. After that what it should do, this data it need to store into employee table. To store into employee table, It may not require security, transaction, mailing and all these. Just your servlet, what are the component we are using here? Controller component. Your controller component, directly it should have capability to access DAO classes. But if you go through entity beans, first it need to talk with session bean. Session bean will talk with entity bean. Then later entity bean will process in database. Let's say if you have application without security, without transaction, if you have 1000 use cases, and with security, with the transactions, if you have 1000 use cases, for that 1000 use cases, whatever the 1000 use cases we have for security and transactions, for them you may need to write EJB session beans. 1000 EJB session bean classes may required. For the remaining classes also you must need to write if you required or not. For the remaining not required service, security, transactions, mailing services, if these services if you don't require for 1000 use cases, let's say that 1000 use cases are simple CRUD operation use cases. For that CRUD operation use cases, if you don't want the services, even if you don't want the services also, you need to write session beans. Means unnecessary 1000 classes we must need to write. Without having this session beans, application, I mean your DAO entity beans, they will not allow us to talk with entity beans. If you want to talk with entity beans, first you need to talk with session bean. Session bean will talk with entity bean, then it will process data here. So EJB entity beans main disadvantage, it is having dependency of session beans. If you require or not, you must need to write. That is what actually major disadvantage he find. Then what he did, he designed a tool. He named it Hibernate. His name is Gavin King. His name Gavin King. He is one of the EJB team developer only. EJBs are from Sun Microsystems. Sun Microsystems given this EJBs in the year 1998 and 99s. EJB components they released. So this EJB team developer, his name Gavin King. Gavin King. He designed a tool Hibernate. He released in the year 2000s. 2000 between 2001 and 2 he released. The year 2001 he released it. He named it Hibernate. The tool name is Hibernate.